Today, we're diving into a really powerful cautionary tale from an ancient text. It's the story of a leader, a king named Jehoram. And trust me, it's a chilling look at how a ruler's choices can build a legacy not of honor, but of complete and utter ruin.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Imagine that being the last thing anyone ever says about you. This is the final line written about King Jehoram. It's got to be one of the most brutal takedowns of a leader you'll ever read. So, the question is, how on earth does a guy with absolute power earn an epitaph that damning? Well, let's unpack his story and find out.
So, where does this all begin? Well, like so many stories of failed leadership, it starts with a ruthless grab for power. And we're not talking about a smooth, peaceful transition here. Nope, this was a bloody takeover from the inside out.
Okay, so Jehoram gets the throne of Judah when he's 32, and he reigns for 8 years. And his age is actually really important here. He's not some young kid who doesn't know any better. He's a grown man, in his prime, which means everything he did it deliberately.
So, how does he cement his power? The text says he first established himself firmly, and then it tells us exactly how. He didn't just outmaneuver his rivals, he literally eliminated them. He had all of his own brothers executed, along with any officials who looked like they might be a threat. His entire reign was built on a foundation of paranoia and blood.
All right, so he's taken power by force. What's next? You'd think maybe he'd try to build up the kingdom, right? Wrong. He starts dismantling it. He basically looks at all the traditions his father and grandfather stood for and decides to do the exact opposite. And you can see the split right here. It's like a huge fork in the road. His dad, Jehoshaphat, and his grandpa, Asa, they were seen as good, righteous kings. Jehoram, he chooses the other path. And the real turning point is his marriage. He marries into the house of Ahab, a family that was, let's just say, notoriously corrupt. This wasn't about love. It was a political and spiritual deal that was going to seal his kingdom's fate.
And this new alliance immediately leads to action. He builds these high places, which were basically centers for pagan worship. He led the people to prostitute themselves, a really strong metaphor in the text for being spiritually unfaithful. You see, he wasn't just a bad king on his own. He was actively corrupting his entire nation.
You know how in every story there's that moment where the villain gets one last chance to turn things around? Well, that's what happens to Jehoram. He gets a direct and, frankly, terrifying warning.
The warning shows up in a letter from Elijah the prophet. Now, this is a huge deal. Elijah was one of the most important figures of the time, a man people believe spoke for God. So this isn't just a memo from another politician. This is a divine indictment.
And this letter does not pull any punches. It goes right for the throat, calling him out for murdering his own family. And catch that last phrase, men who were better than you. Ouch. That's more than just a judgment, it's a personal insult. It makes it crystal clear that his crimes weren't just political missteps, they were deep moral failures.
What follows is a prophecy that is incredibly specific. It's basically a two-part punishment. First, a total disaster for everything he cares about. His people, his family, and his wealth will all be destroyed. And second, a uniquely horrible end for Jehoram himself, a painful, slow, and deadly disease. He's literally being told exactly how his story is going to end.
So what does Jehoram do? He ignores the warning, of course. And just like clockwork, the consequences start rolling in. And it's not just one bad thing, it's the complete systematic collapse of his entire kingdom.
You can almost watch the dominoes fall. First, parts of his own kingdom rebel and break away. Then, his enemies, the Philistines and Arabs, they sense weakness and they invade. They completely loot the palace, taking everything he owns. And finally, they take his family. His wives and sons are captured. That first part of the prophecy just came true with terrifying accuracy.
His kingdom is destroyed. His family is gone. There's only one thing left from the prophecy. The judgment now turns inward, and it's time for Jehoram to pay his personal price.
And there it is. The second part of Elijah's warning becomes reality. The text is very direct about it. He's struck with an incurable disease of the bowels, exactly as the letter described.
And this was not a quick end. The prophecy said it would be a lingering disease, and it was. For 2 agonizing years, Jehoram suffered. It's almost poetic in a dark way, as if all the bad from his 8-year reign was now playing out, day by day, in his own body. His end was just as brutal as foretold, agonizing and without a shred of dignity. A painful death for a king who caused so much pain to his family and his people.
But even in death, there's no relief for him. His own people deliver the final insults. They refuse to make a funeral fire in his honor, which was a huge deal for a king. And while he's buried in the city, he's denied a spot in the royal tombs. He was cast out by his own kingdom, even after he was gone.
And that brings us right back to where we started, that devastating final line. But now it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? It's not just an insult, it's a summary of a life filled with murder, corruption, and betrayal. His people didn't mourn him because he gave them absolutely nothing to mourn. He left behind nothing but pain. And so his death was just a relief.
The story of Jehoram happened a long, long time ago. But the question it leaves us with is absolutely timeless. It makes you ask, what really defines a leader's legacy? Is it about how much power you can grab for yourself? Or is it about the well-being of the people you're supposed to be serving? Jehoram had all the power in the world, but in the end, the only thing that mattered was how people remembered him. And they remembered him with nothing but contempt.